Homelander is one of the most fearsome and complex characters in modern television, but labeling him as evil is an oversimplification. To understand why, we need to look beyond his violent actions, beyond the public spectacle, beyond the fear he instills in everyone around him. The truth is far more disturbing. Homelander isn't evil. He is empty. And that emptiness drives everything he does. From birth, Homelander was denied the fundamental experiences that make a person human. Unlike ordinary children, he was never comforted, nurtured, or taught empathy. He did not have a family, he did not have friends, he did not have love. Instead, he was raised in a laboratory, observed constantly by scientists who treated him as an experiment rather than a child. Every movement, every expression, every emotional response was logged and analyzed. The goal was not to nurture a person, but to create a weapon. Homelander's value was measured solely in terms of performance. The message was clear. You are nothing unless you serve a function, and your worth is conditional. This formative environment created the core of his emptiness. Where humans develop emotional intelligence, he developed precision and control. Where humans learn empathy and morality, he learned manipulation and performance. His identity was constructed entirely externally. He was not allowed to explore who he was or what it meant to be human. Instead, he internalized the lesson that survival depended on pleasing others, performing flawlessly, and demonstrating power. Emptiness, then, was not a result of choice or ideology. It was a consequence of deprivation. This emptiness manifests in many ways. Publicly, Homelander embodies perfection, heroic, charismatic, invincible. He is the ideal of what a superhero should be. But behind that facade is a hollow person. He does not experience genuine connection. He does not understand love. He does not have a moral compass that guides him from within. All of his actions are either calculated to maintain appearances or reactions to his own insecurities and emotional void. He is constantly seeking validation because he does not feel complete without it. Praise, recognition, and fear are not tools to him. They are lifelines. The emptiness also explains his unpredictable violence. Many villains act with clear motives: ideology, revenge, or greed. Homelander acts differently. His violence is rarely premeditated or principled. It is reactive, born from the internal void he carries. A minor slight, a look of doubt, or a failure to show admiration can trigger explosive responses. This is not evil in the traditional sense. It is the manifestation of a mind unanchored by morality or empathy, struggling to fill a void that can never be satisfied. His cruelty is not calculated malice. It is instinctive, a response to his own emptiness. Consider his relationships with other characters. Homelander cannot bond in a healthy way. He consumes people rather than connecting with them. Teammates like Starlight are objects to be tested or tools to be manipulated. Enemies like Butcher are threats to be dismantled. Even his obsession with public perception is tied to emptiness. He craves admiration, loyalty, and recognition because without them, he is nothing. There is no internal validation. The external world must affirm his worth constantly. The emptiness is self-perpetuating. The more he seeks validation, the more he relies on others, the more hollow he becomes when it is insufficient. Homelander's public and private personas highlight this emptiness. In public, he is untouchable, heroic, patriotic, a living symbol of perfection. In private, he is vulnerable, insecure, and desperate for affirmation. This contrast amplifies his unpredictability. The world sees a god. His inner life is that of a frightened, lonely child. The duality is central to understanding him. He is not evil because he wishes to harm, but because he cannot feel. Power without humanity transforms emptiness into terror. His childhood deprivation also explains his entitlement and obsession with control. Homelander believes he deserves admiration, respect, and loyalty, not because of morality, but because he never received basic human care. This is crucial. Where most people internalize lessons about right and wrong, Homelander internalized lessons about performance and dominance. His actions, no matter how violent or manipulative, are rooted in this need. The snapping moments, The public displays of power, the private cruelty, they are all extensions of a deep, unfillable void. To call him evil is to misunderstand the source of his behavior. The real danger is that his emptiness is inseparable from his power. The show often contrasts him with characters like Butcher to highlight this distinction. Butcher's hatred is deliberate, purposeful, and morally grounded. Homelander's reactions, by contrast, are erratic, experimental, and emotional. He tests people constantly, not to advance an ideology, but to gauge responses that validate his own identity. When his expectations are not met, the void inside him triggers extreme consequences. He is reactive, not scheming. He is a force of nature, not a villain with a plan. This unpredictability is what makes him terrifying. The world cannot anticipate him because his actions are rooted in emptiness, not rationality. Even the moments when Homelander attempts to connect with others reveal his emptiness. He does not understand affection or loyalty in human terms. He cannot accept love without suspicion, cannot give it without control. Relationships are transactional, each interaction serving his need for validation. The emptiness transforms ordinary social dynamics into potential threats. Those who try to reach him, who seek to connect with him genuinely, are often met with manipulation, cruelty, or rejection. He is incapable of reciprocity because he has never experienced it himself. Homelander's emptiness also functions symbolically. He represents the dangers of power divorced from humanity. He embodies what happens when society prioritizes performance over empathy, image over substance, and control over connection. He is a cautionary tale, not just a villain. His life demonstrates that power without emotional grounding amplifies brokenness into terror. The very traits that make him heroic in appearance, strength, invulnerability, charisma, become destructive when combined with emptiness. Ven's small behaviors reveal this core truth. His obsessive need for loyalty, his intolerance of vulnerability, and his compulsion to dominate all stem from the lack of emotional nourishment in his early life. Every act of manipulation, every cruel display of power, every public spectacle is linked to this void. His snapping moments, while shocking, are inevitable. They are the cumulative result of a lifetime of deprivation, neglect, and the absence of meaningful human connection. To fully grasp the scope of his emptiness, consider the psychological tension it creates. Homelander cannot experience guilt, empathy, or remorse in conventional ways, yet he craves approval and admiration constantly. This paradox drives much of his behavior: a need for connection without the ability to truly connect, a desire for love without the capacity to give or receive it, and an endless hunger for validation from a world that can never fully satisfy him. His emptiness fuels both his ambition and his terror, creating a cycle that is impossible to break. Moreover, Homelander's emptiness isolates him further. Despite being surrounded by people, fans, teammates, subordinates, he remains profoundly alone. Connection, loyalty, and love are tools or rewards, never genuine experiences. The world sees a hero, but behind the mask is someone who cannot experience the very emotions that make heroism meaningful. This isolation is a direct consequence of his upbringing and the hollow structure of his identity. The more he attempts to engage, the more his actions reinforce his solitude. Ultimately, Homelander's story is a study of emptiness magnified by power. He is not evil in the traditional sense. He is not driven by ideology, vengeance, or greed. He is driven by absence of love, absence of identity, absence of self-worth. Power without humanity amplifies that emptiness into chaos, unpredictability, and terror. His story demonstrates that a person can be terrifying not because they desire to harm, but because they cannot feel. Homelander's violence, cruelty, and manipulation are symptoms of a hollow interior, a void that can never be satisfied, and a life spent denied the basic building blocks of human development. To watch Homelander in action is to witness the consequences of emotional deprivation applied to a being with near-limitless power. Every decision, every outburst, every calculated smile and public display is connected to this emptiness. Understanding this is crucial. He is not evil. He is broken, hollow, and endlessly seeking validation in a world that cannot fill him. That is what makes him terrifying, not just to those in his universe, but to viewers who recognize the psychological depth behind the monstrous actions. Homelander is not evil, he is empty. And in that emptiness lies the truest horror. His emptiness is the silent engine behind every violent act, every manipulation, and every terrifying moment, making him one of the most psychologically complex and frightening characters in contemporary storytelling.